Hello, everyone. I want to play this video involving the child actor Todd Bridges, formerly known as Willis, on the hit TV show Different Strokes, along with Gary Coleman, Dana Plato. I don't know if you remember that show. It all depends on the era that you came up under, but I came up under the tail end, but I used to like to watch that show, Different Strokes. At any rate, I am appalled by this interview because Todd Bridges, okay, he messed up. He did things. He acknowledges that he did things that were wrong, but he also owns up to it, and he's still being put on the hot seat by Bryant Gumbel in this interview, and I felt so bad for him. I felt so bad, and just Brian Gumbel is just trying to rip and tear and shred him. I think the media portrayed Todd Bridges to be this monster. I mean, it was absolutely appalling. I want you all to watch this and give me your thoughts in the comments. I thought this would be interesting. Particularly to those that may have gotten into some trouble and now you're working on fixing yourself, making yourself better, getting back above board, trying to turn your life around. You know, this may encourage those of you that may have those similar sentiments. So at any rate, let's play this video.
For the three child actors, Gary Coleman, Todd Bridges, and Dana Plato, veterans all, it seemed wonderful. The show was a hit, and they were stars.
This just in, the FBI says it will not rest until every member of the Different Strokes cast is behind bars.
Oh, that's horrible.
Now they are skewered by comics and the subject of news stories. Their plight is called the curse of Different Strokes. For the maturing but often ill comic genius, Gary Coleman, life was anything but laughs. Finding acting jobs that weren't children's roles or those that demanded short people proved almost impossible. He moved from Hollywood to Denver to Phoenix, fired his manager, and sued his parents for allegedly stealing more than $1 million. He was arrested in Las Vegas in February on charges of holding up this video store for $160 with a pellet gun. As for Todd Bridges, Arnold's older brother on Different Strokes, his serious bouts with the law began way back in 1983 when he was arrested for carrying a concealed .45 caliber handgun in his car. In his most infamous case, he was charged with an attempted murder, but was acquitted.
Mom, what are you gonna make with the Jell-O?
Todd Bridges began acting at a very early age with his mother in this Jell-O commercial. What do you think the business was?
I thought the business was something wonderful. I mean, I still think it's something wonderful, but I thought it was a little more different than the way that I've seen it today.
When did it start to go sour for you?
Well, it's when I lost my self-esteem and I lost my dignity inside of myself, and I lost my I lost myself.
So how'd you respond to it?
I responded to it very negatively. Evidently, I ended up getting myself in a little bit of trouble.
You want to detail it?
Well, in trouble by using drugs and doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. That's about it. That's the only crime I've ever really committed was using drugs.
It's not the only crime of which you've been charged.
Well, of course not. But that can happen to anybody. That's something that can happen.
Happen to anybody?
Sure,
Absolutely.
Aggravated assault? Assault with a deadly weapon?
Well,
drug charges? Happen to anybody?
Yeah, but see, charges and convictions are two different things, Brian.
Exactly.
Anybody can be charged with things. But if you committed the crime, you'll be convicted. And I haven't been convicted.
Why was Todd Bridges charged then? Why were you singled out?
I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
No fault of your own?
Yeah, the only fault I had was using drugs. That's a big fault.
Do you blame drugs for all of that? How much responsibility lies at your door, Todd?
Mine, all that. Using drugs lies at my door. That's the mistake that I made.
Period.
Period.
No other one?
No, it's no one else's fault either but mine. I can accept that. It's not a hard thing not to accept.
What do you think about this idea of the Different Strokes curse?
I think that's the biggest hoax I've ever heard. I think that you just have three people who gotten themselves in a little bit of trouble. Some was on purpose and some of us wasn't. And, it's just something that happens.
You keep dismissing this little bit of trouble like it's a part of growing up.
Of course it's a part of
You
growing
know what?
up.
Hold on. I gotta stop there. I'm appalled by Gumbel. Why is he like attacking? Why are you on the attack? He's made a mistake. He's trying to clean up his life. Why are you trying to attack him? The hell? This is appalling.
You never got yourself in a little bit of trouble?
I must say I've never been behind bars. How many years?
Oh, you've been perfect.
I spent 9 months because my bail was $2.5 million. That's the only reason why.
Dana Plato got herself arrested. I'm not necessarily sure most girls have.
Oh, a lot of girls have gotten themselves arrested for odds and ends. Wait, whether or not...
Gary Coleman winds up living in the desert. I doubt if that's a normal pattern.
Oh,
for
come on.
minor-
How is that not a normal pattern? Haven't you had controversy? I mean, I remember where you wanted too much money. Or I remember where I can go into your history, too.
Exactly.
You can't always believe what you read or what you hear.
But none
Exactly.
of which, Todd, was an illegality or wound up being charged in a courtroom.
You're right. But these are the kind of things that happen. Certain people get certain problems.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
Are you telling me that the experience of Todd Bridges, Dana Plato, and Gary Coleman were the course of natural maturation, nothing out of the ordinary?
I don't feel that it's out of the ordinary, but I feel it's something that it strikes adolescents like it did. We were adolescents at the time as all this struck, so that's what happens.
You don't think in any way television played a part in that, or being famous played a part in that, or having X amount of dollars early in life played a part of that, or the pressures of the business played a part of that?
Well, I feel maybe a small point of the pressure of the business could have played a part of that, but I don't feel that it's anything out of the ordinary. I mean, there's a lot of kids out there who are going through the same problems right now. And like I told you, it depends on what we do with it. If I would continue to do it, then that would be bad, but I'm not continuing to do that. I haven't even been anywhere near in trouble for a year and a half, and I don't plan on ever getting in trouble again, you know? Thanks to God.
Would the things that have happened to Todd Bridges have happened if you'd have just been a normal high schooler?
I think so, only because for the very simple reason, God has everything in program for people. Now I can go out today and go to these schools more or less than Brian Gumbel. You can go to these schools, but these kids will look at you and say, Brian Gumbel, he's a square. Brian Gumbel's never been in trouble. Brian Gumbel doesn't understand what we're going through.
Exactly.
And so Todd Bridges is hip because he's been in jail?
No, Todd Bridges is hip because he understands what's going on.
Thank
so he
you.
can tell them how not to go to jail, to prevent these things from happening.
Brian Gumbel's a
Why?
butthole.
You tell me how Todd Bridges' life relates to most of those kids. Most of those kids never saw the kind of money you did. Most of those kids
How does it relate?
never experienced fame.
Let me explain to you how it
Go ahead.
relates. How it relates. A lot of kids in high school today have to deal with drug dealers, have to deal with drug abuse, have to deal with dysfunctional families, has to deal with people on the street who condemn them because they feel that they're not worthy of anything, so they have low self-esteem. Because it affected me, I'm able to now go to these kids and say, hey, look, it happens to everybody. You can be on top of the world and lose everything, but you can come back for it.
There you go.
The best success is a great recovery.
Come
Todd,
on.
you ever
Come
get
on
taken
now.
back? I mean, for whatever, let me ask you, no, don't say well, for however
This is
much you may clean up
disrespectful.
your life, there is a certain image that persists about Todd Bridges. And those things are harder to rectify sometimes than just cleaning up your act.
I understand that, but whether or not, it's not whether I'm going to go out there and clean up my image, is that I want people to see that I'm a sober and I'm a sane mind now, and I can handle my own affairs. Now, whether it's accepted, hey, if it's accepted, it's great. If it's not, I'm not going to cry about it. But I'm doing the best I can, and that's all I can do. No one can ask any more from me or any less.
I like
Of the
that.
three child-
All right, so let me just give just a rebuttal on that. First of all, I commend Todd Bridges for recognizing, that he messed up, and he's willing to get his life back together. I mean, this was years ago. He's already pretty much on track now, but to be pummeled by Brian Gumbel. I mean, did you hear the insulting things he was saying? So that makes you hip because you were in jail, you were locked up? I mean, come on. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth like Brian Gumbel. Right. So my thing is, this guy is on the road to recovery, and he's still being torn down by the media. And I have to say, I commend Todd Bridges for keeping his cool, for maintaining his cool throughout this interview. I thought it was disrespectful. I thought it was degrading how he was treated. But I will say, Todd Bridges kept his cool, because if it had been me and I was in a situation like that, I can tell you right now, I probably would have snapped. I don't know if you watch this, you can see where they did a little edit in it, because he said, you wanted more money, but it was something he said before, asking him that he wanted more money. He was about to go into his history. See, this is why when the Bible says that when the Pharisees had brought the young woman that was caught in sin to Jesus, Jesus dismissed the even narrative. He's dismissed the narrative of it because they were trying to condemn her. And then Jesus turns around and says, he who was without sin cast the first stone. Nobody can point fingers at nobody. And I am appalled that Brian Gumble degraded this man like this. Tried to paint him, tried to portray him to be the most abysmal person on the planet. I am appalled. I'm not a fan of Brian Gumble. You know, this is a young man trying to recover, trying to get his life right. Yes, he messed up. He was on drugs. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. I don't care if you are a child star or somebody that never was a child star. It can happen to anybody, just like Todd Bridges said. It can happen to anybody. And I liked how Todd Bridges fired back and told Brian Gumble, you know, Brian Gumble is a square. He wouldn't be able to understand the problems that we're going through. See, what I like about Todd Bridges is his story is relatable to those that may be going through something. I don't want to preach on here today, but I just want to get you. Listen, I want your rebuttal. I want to hear your comments about this, because this is very concerning, particularly when somebody has taken in account their misdeeds. He has taken in account his misdeeds, and he's still being shredded for it. And I just don't agree with that. You know, I don't agree. You don't kick someone when they're down. He's trying to get up. He need to be help lift them up. All right. I want to hear your comments on this. Thank you.